apart from the material itself, what you want to look at in particular is the way we spot weld the SSIs. So if you take a look around the spot welding of the upper and the lower half shell, as opposed to over here, the spot welding. So we have,
obviously the spacing is completely different. These are almost like seamless integrated spot weldings, almost like sewing. Hey car friends, the life of the automotive journalist is just exactly as glamorous as it looks from the outside. Yesterday I was in Hanover for the Treffen, Europe's biggest Volkswagen get-together with all sorts of wonderful air-cooled cars. And today I'm back in the Danish heartland outside of Viborg in visiting JP Group, where they produce all the Porsche parts, and today the managing director Torben is gonna take me through the SSI adventure, California brand that they purchased and moved over here and now produce in Denmark at the highest level of quality and efficiency. Join me in the factory and see how boring sheet metal turns into functional sculptures. Hey friends, I'm back at the factory in Viborg, and I have another session with Torben, the boss of the whole damn thing. And today we're looking at SSI, which is like the Rolls-Royce of headers. Can we call it that?
Yeah, we can call it that.
Without insulting anyone? I mean, isn't that like the super brand?
Sure, it is.
Torben, you promised to take me through it. This is an age-old California company that you acquired, and
that's true.
You maintain the tradition and you do the work here.
We do.
Yeah, explain.
It's correct. As you say, we took over SSI back in 2012 from John Daniels, who ran it since the 70s over in California. So since 2012, we moved everything over here. So today we're inside the factory in the factory.
The factory within the factory, because you maintain the unique product identity of SSI, but within the package of JP Group.
We did.
Yeah. So, and why? Why is that?
We keep the heritage because SSI is the name in the Porsche industry for the early 911F in particular, when we talk about the heat exchanger. So we wanted it to be authentic, and we wanted it to be in the same layout and in the same machines. You see when you film around all the blue machines, the blue trolleys, which are the exact same as they were back then in the 70s. So right here behind me, 4221, that's how it goes. So whenever we manufacture a batch, we make 21 set of SSIs. So 42 pieces, you see them on the trolleys around, and that's just become an integrated part of the manufacturing planning and the way we go about.
Let's go take a closer look, because I'm the layman and you're the specialist, because, you know, for a casual passerby, those two products could look identical, but they are not at all.
They're not at all. Let's have a look at a set of heat exchangers.
Now, I'm putting you in kind of an ungrateful spot, Torben, because over here is your own product, and we don't want to declass that or bring it down or trash mouth it in any way. But we're here today to celebrate the SSI, which is over here. And can you take me through some of the production differences?
Sure. It's so what we're looking at, you won't be surprised that I say we're looking at the best against the very best, right?
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. So this is a stock unit. So this is a steel unit, obviously painted steel unit. This meets the factory specs, and apart from the material itself, what you want to look at in particular is the way we spot weld the SSIs. So if you take a look around the spot welding of the upper and the lower half shell, as opposed to over here, the spot welding. So
obviously the spacing is completely different. These are almost like seamless integrated spot weldings, almost like sewing or...
Exactly, and that's what adds strength to the product and gives another dimension of durability to the SSIs. Yeah, having said that, as I said initially, obviously the material is different. So what we do with the SSIs is that the entire heat exchanger is made in what we call 304 stainless steel. It's an austenitic kind of stainless, so it's non-magnetic. It's amongst the finest types of stainless steel that you can use for an exhaust system.
And that, of course, is a question of durability.
It
resistance to rust.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's obviously the surface that stays clean and nice over time, and it's the durability. Of course, a 304 stainless will also turns kind of yellow, goldish as it warms up and as it is used. But it stays nice and clean throughout the lifetime of the product.
Pricing-wise, obviously this sort of quality comes with a price tag. Can you compare the two? I mean, is it twice the price, or where are we?
How to compare pricing? I mean, we can compare numbers, sure, but how do you compare value for money? So in terms of numbers, yes, you do pay, depending on the version, double, triple price for a set of SSI as opposed to a set of stock heat exchangers. Sure you do, but they also last accordingly and give you that finish to your car that you're looking for.
And when you're at a car meet and you lift up the skirts of your car and you see that product underneath, then it's like a nod of recognition. People know that this is the real deal.
People know you care for your car when you spent the SSIs for it.
I'm sorry I made the Rolls-Royce reference. That was kind of lame, but this is a high-end, super quality product, and the stitches there really give it away, and the choice of material. It's almost like a sculpture. I mean, this is a product next time you buy 3, put 2 on the car and have one, on your coffee table just to look at it.
You might want to do, but this is what adds the durability to your early 911 that it deserves. SSI is an abbreviation for stainless steel innovation.
Yeah.
So what we do is we keep the eye alive and we keep the innovation alive. So that's why we talk about German engineering, American ingenuity, and Danish design, because the car is German engineering, right? SSI has its American roots, but we are fine-tuning the designs, optimizing on the heat exchanger here in Denmark, adding oversized pipe diameter to the different versions. They come for different sizes of engines, and I'll show you some of the details in a minute.
You have an exploded one on your table. Let's go. Let's go have a look at that.
Sure.
Torben, we're back at the office.
Yes.
And you exploded or dissected one to explain to me some of the details.
Yeah, just to have a look, a lot of the components that you saw over at the assembly, we've just gathered on this board here. Obviously, upper shell and lower shell here for the set of tubes, right? We're breaking it all. That's how it goes. We've just seen that in the factory.
This is like grown-up Lego.
It is, and that's what the guys are doing over there. What is extremely important is you see the pipe bending here. Very often something we don't talk about enough, because this pipe bend underneath the shells must be tight. There are no weldings whatsoever, because otherwise you would run the risk of getting exhaust fumes into the cabin, right? So it's important that all the joints are done down here, downstream of the heater function itself.
Could one say, Torben, that every weld is an opening for a fault? I mean, is it more safe and more stable as the less welds it has?
Yes.
That's why you go through the meticulous process of doing these complicated bends.
That you can say. Yeah. A weld will inevitably crack inevitably. Yeah. It will.
And these are products that have vibrations, and of course, eventually there will be a crack. And this is like a safety and health issue, obviously.
Yes, it is. So that's an important part of the system, right? But what is also worth mentioning here is the evolution we have done in the product offering. So what you see up here is the standard flange. It's a 38 mil pipe diameter. We're talking about the flange that comes on top here. So that's the early small engine. We do this in the stock 38 mil, and we have also introduced an oversized 41 mil dimension. Now you can say, why do we offer for those later versions? Well, that heat exchanger we see here is the early 911F, and early 70s to mid 70s, California introduced as the first in America some strict emission requirements. Europe introduced some noise requirements. Long story short, Porsche introduced the G model heat exchanger, a smaller heat exchanger, introduced a crossover pipe. So to meet both North American and European legislation. Nowadays, a lot of people are backdating the later cars. So they do use this style of heat exchanger to do a free flow system.
On a more modern car, like a 964, for instance.
Exactly. Yeah? And here you need the different flanges to do a bolt-on system, and that's what we have done.
All right.
Actually, for those, we also introduce a shortened version of the heat exchanger, so it's a bolt-on system. I'll show you in a moment.
All right, Torben. Now we're imagining that your table is a car, and this is how it's set up, and this is explain to me. This is a 3.2 setup.
Exactly, that's the 3.2 where we looked at the different flanges just a minute ago. And what we have done here, this is a special signature system that we have made within the SSI. Together with the German Matthias Höing, we have developed this system that is designed for an enhanced 3.2 engine. So we have done a number of things. First and foremost, we have expanded the SSI heat exchanger manufacturing into mufflers. So you get a nice SSI muffler matching in material, in surface, in the look with the rest of the system. Now, to make this a bolt-on system for the 3.2, not only did we adapt the flanges, we've also shortened the heater boxes. You see the additional introduced weldings here and the cut-off box. Introduced this crossover pipe. So what the system now does is that it perforates the engine tinware in the same spot where the G model does it on a stock system. So there's no need to cut and weld and change your tinware. You simply bolt off the system you have and bolt this right on. We talked about pipe diameter before. This is 41 mil to get the bigger flow rate. And when I mentioned this system being adapted for an enhanced engine, we have changed this bit of the heat exchanger, the outlet pipe, from a standard 50 mil to a 60 mil. And rather than doing the usual bend, we have kept it straight for a better flow as the air exits the heat exchanger. That means we have offset the inlet of the muffler to the side, both left and right. And in this way, you get a much increased flow rate. All in all, and it's all comes with a but, because it depends on engine state and oils, lubricants, and many other factors. But you're talking about 8 to 10 horsepower gain on a system like this of a stock engine. Last but not least, comes with all the little hardware.
It's delivered in the box as a full kit.
Exactly, with gaskets and clamps.
Yeah. So whether you're a professional mechanic in your workshop or you're standing at home in your own garage, you got everything you need.
That's the idea, yes, exactly.
All right, excellent. Thank you for taking us through this I mean, I love productions like these, and I think it's a magic trick every time to see a flat, one-dimensional piece of sheet metal turn into a functioning sculpture. I love factories.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. Thanks a lot, Torben. Hey car friends, thank you for watching JP Group Club. This is our new YouTube channel. It's obviously sponsored by JP Group, and we're aiming to tickle you in all the right places with information and entertainment pertaining air-cooled cars from primarily Porsche and Volkswagen. Stay tuned, and we're gonna take you through production. We're gonna test products at the workshop. We're gonna take you to interesting places, drive fascinating cars, and meet relevant people. Help me get this show on the road. Press the subscribe button and like, and whatever you can, share it with your friends, and we're gonna make it fly. Thanks a lot for watching.